speak from here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So first of all, I want Brent Lewis to come back up, because what he did is what I'm really about. And that is about encouraging young people to step up. Because we have been traveling schools. I have a 20-year-old young man. This is his picture on the cover. And we've been running around schools. He's very ill today, but we've been running around schools while he was ill, talking to young people about the importance of standing up. Amen. Because the folks who are sitting down are the folks who are not going places.
That's right.
And in our schools, we have so many young people who need to stand up and need to stand up with support. And when they stand up with support, we need to, what we talk with our young people about is that support is not just from the teacher, but it's also from your peers.
That's right.
Because we cannot afford to, as black people, and as Latin people, Latino people, to snicker, to laugh, to joke when a young person get up. We don't do that in church. We should not do that in school. So what I want to do is I want to honor you by giving them a copy of our memoir. Amen. I have 10 minutes, so I'm going to get through this really quickly. I feel great being here this morning. It reminded me of being in a Pentecostal church back in Swainsboro, Georgia. You know, because in my book, this book is written, and it's written in the voice of my 17-year-old son. And he says, you know, when my father went to church in Swainsboro, Georgia, and the Baptist churches, they did not want anything that reminded the congregation of Africa. So there were no tamarines. We didn't have any tamarines in church. You know, there was no shouting. There was no any of that. And the beauty of it is that the African spirit is with us no matter what church we are. And this is what we're talking about in this book. Since it's Black History Month, I want to just honor two great black men. First one is this gentleman here. If you go to the Museum of the National Museum of Anthropology in Mexico City, you will find this painting of Vicente Guerrero. He was the grandson of an African slave in Mexico. He was the second president of Mexico. In 1829, long before Lincoln even thought of so-called freeing enslaved Africans in America, he freed the slaves in Mexico. So that whole battle at the Alamo, which we hear a lot about, but we never really truly learn about, came about because this man freed slaves in Mexico and in Texas. And Texas was a part of Mexico, as was Colorado, Nevada, California, parts of Oklahoma, Wyoming, Utah. You go on and you go on. So this man, he liberated Mexico from Spain in 1821. Look him up. There are more black people in South America than there are in North America, as you know. A lot of times we talk about black history, we're talking about Malcolm X, we're talking about Rosa Parks, and we're talking about Martin Luther King, and we should. But there's a broader picture that our young people need to know. So this other gentleman here, you may know him as Arthur Schomburg, but in Puerto Rico, his name was Arturo Alfonso Schomburgo. And his mother was from St. Vincent, and his father was from Puerto Rico. And he grew up in Puerto Rico, and they told him in Puerto Rico, there are no black heroes, no great moments in black history. And he went around, he loved Puerto Rico, and he went out and he did that research, and he brought that research to bear. So I just want to honor those two individuals this morning and then tell you a little bit about the book. Our book is called Coming of Age in the Hip Hop Generation, Warrior of the Void. And people say, that's a sort of odd name. But you know, when you talk about the void, people are talking about space. And what we say is that in every life, the life of every individual on earth, there's a calling. We are all called to seek the kingdom first. Amen. We are all called, whether we are pastors, whether we are lay folks, we are all called to seek the kingdom. And we are called to be the best that we could be, the best that God created us to be. But there's a space that exists between who we are and who we are called to be. And in this space, what we find for this generation, the hip-hop generation, so many flamboyant demons. See, when I was growing up, the demons were walking around with pitchforks. They wore little red suits. And that was the reality. So we're talking about black history. That was the history of Georgia. But our kids, they're not ready to believe that. So what are the demons that they face? These are the flamboyant, enchanting demons. It's the demons of the images that they feed our kids of women. You know, when you look at that, it's a demon in that. Our kids, we go to schools and we talk to our kids about, okay, so when you want to meet a girl, what do you look for first in a girl? And they all say, we'll talk to look at the booty. That's reality. Now, I hope I can say that in church, because they certainly are standing out in the street. So we need to talk to our young people about first learning to look a woman in the eye. And learning to respect women. Because that flamboyant demon is in the videos that they look at, the musical videos. It's in the video games that they play. Don't you know there's porn embedded in a lot of those video games? Our kids, we go out. I was at a school yesterday and I asked, it's a great school, all young men, it's called the Eagle Academy. We have one in Newark, New Jersey. So all the young men are there. They're all mentored by some great men. And so I asked the men, I said, do you know Kanye West? His video Monster. So all the kids knew it. The men who were mentoring them did not know it. So I said, you know, one of the things that we need to do is we need to go to the places that our kids are in order to bring them to the places that they need to be. And see, my son taught me that. My son, I had a doctorate from Columbia University. I got my doctorate from Columbia University 30 years ago. This May 13th, 30 years ago. I came out of Georgia at 5 years old. I had no shoes on my feet. I was in the cotton fields. But I would tell you, I had a brother. I remember when I was 7 years old, and we tell these stories to the young people. When I was 7 years old, I was working in Mrs. Rich's dry cleaners after school. And it was Christmas Eve. And they told us, you know, if you're up and Santa Claus comes, he's going to spit tobacco in your eyes. I don't know how many of you guys heard that growing up in the South. And you know what happened? So I tell my daddy, who was the manager of that cleaner, I said, Dad, you know, I got to run home because Santa Claus, I don't want... So my father lets me go home. Now, I would tell you that Christmas morning, we had no toys in the house. All I wanted was a cap pistol, so that I could get my little broomstick with the string on it. And that was my horse. And I wanted to run around and shoot and kill Indians, because that was the enslavement of our minds at that time. We were taught to commit genocide playing cowboys and Indians. Yeah. These are the stories that are there. Now our kids are taught to commit genocide by calling their women witches, which you know what the real word is. So what we got to do, and what we talk to our young people about, is how do we get past all... Now, all of your pop is not bad. All of the video games are not bad. All of the social media, Facebook, etc. But there are so many distractions. There are so enchanting demons. Because, see, when the kids look at it, they don't see danger in any of it. They see enchantment. It's cool. And it could be cool. But we don't have people mediating those experiences with our young people. And that's what we've been doing. We've been traveling to schools, to colleges. I was at Columbia University yesterday, as well as this other school in the morning, this high school. And what we're talking about is how do we begin to walk with our students. Now I will tell you, and we say in the book, Moses was 80 years old when he went back to meet Pharaoh. So it's not too many people in this church who are 80 years old, right? So what we need to do, no matter what our ages are, and this is what my commitment is as long as I breathe, I'm going to walk among young people in our community and have the kinds of conversations that we need to have with them. I just end on this point. We talk in this book about everything. You'll read about this beautiful young man. I always like to hold up this picture because whenever the ladies see this picture, they always love this picture. This is me and my son he was 11 days old. And there are people who say, when I was in the Board of Ed, I ended my career with 140 schools, 99,000 kids. First of all, you should know that. Okay? But I worked for a man, his name was Ray Martinez. He was Mexican-American. That man loved kids. And he told me one day, he says, Dr. Davis, I want you to do something for me. I want you to walk with me and take me and this woman who is in the Clinton administration who does not believe that there are black parents who place a premium on the education of their kids. She did not believe that black parents were interested in sending their kids. This is one of the top educators in America, even today. And so he wanted me to take her to schools with him to show him where black kids were excelling and where black parents were involved in the education. Now, I would tell you, my son was a star basketball player. He was 6'4", and he had passed the Regents in New York State, and he had done so many things in 9th and 10th grade. He had the credits he needed to graduate, but you still have to go to class. And in 12th grade, he was jiving around and not going to his English class. And I walked into that gym that morning, and I walked in front of 100 students, and I walked him through 1,000 students to take him to class. And Ms. Burns-Owens, she knows my personality, because she saw me as a superintendent in District 5. And what I said to the young people is that, because we were at the Schaumburg, and so one kid said, he cursed. He just slipped out. He said, Ham, that was embarrassing. And my son said to him, it would have been more embarrassing if I did not graduate.
All right now.
You know, and he was a kid, and I'm ending on this note. We have young people who are very, very intelligent, but they make very stupid decisions. And it's not because they are evil or even desiring to be evil, because when we know and we look at brain function, we understand that the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which deals with judgment, is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. And so our kids make mistakes, so we have to stick with them through all of those mistakes. And we have to help them look past those mistakes and understand that you are not your mistake. You are the promise. And that's what this book is about. And I hope we have a chance to talk a little bit more about it.
And his son, and the family, take an opportunity to write, come together to write a book that will bless us in our generation. So after worship, you'll have an opportunity to go downstairs, to be able to fellowship, and to be able to share, to be able to hopefully get a copy of that book. I hope he brought some with him. Amen. I've read it. It's a wonderful reading book. But also, what he was able to tell us today, that we really need to, as adults, be able to understand what our youth are doing. Amen? We need to, you didn't say it like that. We need to understand what our youth are doing. Not just send them someplace or not know, but we need to be able to go and to be able to share with them. And so we thank God for that opportunity. We thank